Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms. Firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it, we're talking about right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, and in both cases, make sure you hit the notification button so that you can get alerts as soon as we go live. Also, visit FPCgear.com. It's FPCgear.com. It is the place to go to find all sorts of Pro 2A swag. T-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, and know that every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms, so you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's FPCgear.com. All right, you guys see that I've got my Liberate California shirt on. California was one of multiple states that actually legalized the recreational use of marijuana. And prior to that, it was actually legal to utilize medicinally if you were, approved by a physician to be able to utilize it for medicinal purposes. Now, we won't get into what a sham that process was because it was it was real easy to get a prescription. But the point is that there was something that while illegal at the federal level was made legal at the state level. Now, once again, this is not a point to argue the issue of marijuana, but here's the problem. The problem was that as an individual, even in a state where marijuana was legal, you still had your right to keep and bear arms restricted, because if you were using an illegal substance, you did not have the ability, or that you were not able to purchase or own, or I don't know if it's purchase or own. You weren't allowed to have a gun. So there's a bill that's been introduced, H.R. 2071, that addresses this issue. And so we wanted to have on the show, once again, Firearms Policy Coalition's Director of Legal Policy, Matt Larosiere, to talk a little bit about H.R. 2071. Matt, how are we doing today?
Good to see you, Craig. Doing good.
It is always good. It's always good. So do me a favor. Let the folks know, kind of give us a little bit of background into the whole, marijuana and gun situation. And then help us to understand exactly what H.R. 2071 does and doesn't do.
Well, geez, background into the marijuana and gun situation would be going far back. But I'll just say, I assume most of the audience knows that the federal level marijuana has been illegal for a while. Probably for stupid reasons, actually, assuredly for stupid reasons if you look at the historical record. But regardless, that's what the state of the law was. Eventually, in 922, the statute which governs who can and cannot possess a weapon, so that's what it's really about, is possess. So that gets down to sell, transfer, everything. There's a list of prohibiting factors. And being an unlawful user of or addicted to a federally prohibited substance makes you ineligible to own a firearm. So a bunch of states, following California's lead, and Colorado was early on this too, sat down and they were like, well, this is kind of a stupid law, and so we're just not going to enforce it. And this kind of created like the emperor's got no clothes situation, because without the state enforcing the federal drug prohibitions, they almost had no teeth. And the feds, knowing that this was not a popular thing to do, they kind of just sat back and let the states do what they were going to do. Because bear in mind, you don't see DEA agents patrolling the beat often. I mean, sometimes they're there, but usually what would happen is, you get pulled over by a beat cop, he sees the weed. If it's a certain amount or whatever, he'll refer it to the feds.
Right.
So with that not happening at all, it just, people were comfortable using it in the open. And so in California, that's what things happen, in Hawaii, stuff like that. But then kind of people realized that these people are federally prohibited from owning a gun. And so we had a scare in Hawaii, actually, where a sheriff, this was a couple of years ago. So Hawaii is one of those rare states that has a gun registry. All the guns are registered in Hawaii. And so they sent out a bunch of letters to people who had Hawaii marijuana cards and also registered firearms, notifying them that they were, violating federal law and they needed to get rid of their guns.
Wow. Okay.
There was a lot of backlash to that, and they pulled back and they were like, "Oh, never mind." But still, that's the threat, and that's the problem. And then ATF recently clamped down and put on the 4473 like in bold. And this is something they don't say on there. Oh, this also includes illegally using Vicodin or Percocets or Coke or anything else. But they in bold put on the form that, by the way, if you're using marijuana, even compliance with state law, you still have to check no or yes on this question, and then you don't get your gun. So again, this is a live issue. This is a real problem. Any state that wants to enforce it, like Hawaii almost did,
right,
will enforce it. And like California, they don't owe the gun owners any favors. So what's stopping them?
Well, exactly. So now, all right. So how exactly then does HR 2071 affect that?
It just deletes that. Well, what it does, it specifically says that anyone using marijuana, like it adds an exception to under the statute where it says blah, 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 and then it says except for anyone using marijuana in compliance with a state law,
right?
Which would just get rid of that whole problem. We actually requested an edit to the law when we were talking to them, because we said, well, how about you just get rid of the in compliance with state law thing and just exclude marijuana, period. And if the states want it, because if the states want to continue to have regulations with respect to that, they it's within their power to regulate in that area. I don't think it's constitutional for them to regulate in that area. But our answer, what we were saying to the members who were working on the bill is, why care about if it's a medical law or a recreational or this and that, if we believe that people who use marijuana are still human beings that get the right to defend themselves, why take it away?
Actually, well, there you go. And it's, for me, once again, this is not about the legalization, regardless of how you feel about marijuana, whether it should be legal or not legal. If you're following the law in your state, you shouldn't be hindered from exercising your fundamental right. Because see, the worst part about it is that it actually, in like states like California, it helps the anti-gunners, because they get a twofer. If you decide you want to smoke weed, then guess what? You don't get to keep your guns, or you don't get to possess firearms. So they not only do they get to legalize something that they want to legalize, but they make sure that if you want to enjoy that thing that they've now legalized, you get to lose something else which they don't like.
Right. No, it also like makes sure it's kind of like insurance for a lot of these people. It's like insurance that, oh, well, anyone who joins me on this side is also guaranteed not a gun person, right? Like I'm sure they'd love to have that, guarantee, but it's just not like that. That's what people listen. You can hate weed, you can hate drugs, you can hate drug dealers, you can hate everything. The question is this the type of activity that you think and look into yourself, don't cite federal law, don't cite the Controlled Substances Act. Look into your heart and say, if you see somebody smoking weed, do you think to yourself, that person should not have the ability to defend themselves from unlawful force? If you don't think that way, then you should really support 2071, because that's the only difference it makes, is it recognizes these people's humanity. It recognizes that smoking marijuana is just a choice that people make, and people make a lot of choices. And in my opinion, if it's a choice that doesn't involve harming someone else, it shouldn't affect your rights.
Exactly. So, where can people go if they want to voice their opinion on this bill and help legislators know exactly what their position is on 2070?
We'll go to firearmspolicy.org. We've, go into the policy section. We've got a lot of good stuff, a lot of research coming out there. Click on Take Action. There's a lot of great stuff there. We make it easy for you. We help you out in getting you right in contact with the right people. But that's what you need to do. This stuff doesn't go anywhere if they don't know, right? We got legalized in these states not because of the benevolence of the ruling class, but because people made it clear that they were sick of this stuff. So make it clear. The same way that people made it clear that marijuana prohibition was not cool anymore, make it clear that taking away people's rights for doing something that we think is okay is also not cool.
Exactly. Exactly. Matt, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for coming on the program, and we will look forward to we'll look forward to having you back sometime soon.
Thank you, Craig. Always a pleasure.
All right. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.